Go.
Spencer Dill?
I'm Erin.
How long you guys been together?
3 years.
3 years?
I think 3.5 actually.
3.5.
You've been married for 3 years? Or
Married.
We've been together, yeah.
Yeah, you've been married for 3 years. Okay.
I think I did.
You did?
I didn't. We both grew up in the same small town.
So we went to high school together, but we didn't know each other. Actually, we sort of met afterwards when I was working at the local bank, and through friends. We met through friends.
About a year. Was it a year?
He asked me quite a few times, and I said no, lots, because relationships always turn out bad, and I didn't want to lose this one. So, yeah, I basically turned him down a whole bunch, and we were friends first for years and years before we were ever together, and I decided to take the plunge, and that I couldn't live without him. So.
Oh my God. You feel the same way?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I fell in love with her the minute she walked through the door. We were at the little bar back home, and I told my buddy sitting beside me, actually, I said, I'm going to marry that girl. And he already knew Erin, so he just laughed and said, that's not going to happen.
Well,
The listener?
like you were saying, communication is so the issue. That's something that people really, really have to work on a lot. Communication was definitely something that we had to work on for quite a few years before.
I was always been very stubborn, and she said, if you want to work through our problems, we got to talk, and she's got me more open and been able to talk. I feel better. There's no tension around our house.
You got to get everything out. You have to get it all out and all out into the open. Yeah.
Oh, more so.
More so now.
More so. And
Yeah.
it's not a sit down, we have to have a talk. It's more we can just discuss things around the house, as we're
It
doing
just
our
comes
day-to-day
up.
things.
Yeah. But it took it took some crap, if I can be honest, to get there.
Yeah.
It definitely did, but we made it through, and we're definitely stronger now for it, that's for sure.
I was very jealous when we were dating because, she's gorgeous. Everyone was always looking at her, and I was very protective and wanted her to be mine.
Well, I'm a very, very good girl, and I make very, very sure, as he's in the Navy, that he has no reason to worry about anything when he's gone, because that's the last thing that I want for us and for him when he's away. So he knows that he doesn't have anything to worry about, and I've made that a huge, huge priority.
Okay.
Huge.
We've made a pact that if our relationship gets to that point where we start thinking of other people, that we'd say something, be honest with each other.
Yeah. Yeah. I I used to get really, really frustrated. I guess it was kind of a jealousy thing. As he's gone, I don't have a clue what he's doing. I don't know who he's with. So that stuff definitely does come up, and I used to get really angry about it, and there was reasons why I got angry. But we resolved that. We had to talk about it, and I'm a lot more calm now than I definitely used to be. Yeah, a lot more calm because things are okay with us now.
My anger, I would say, was explosive. I'd be really quiet, want to tiptoe around the situation, just get really quiet and not want to talk about it. And she was always in my face and wanting to get the problem resolved. And eventually they'd fix themselves, and I needed to...
But you got really, really, really mad.
I get really, really mad. I just get really quiet, or I clean the house. I start reorganizing my man room.
You used to run away, actually. He used to just leave.
Yeah, let the situation
No,
calm.
no. He used to say that to me too, because I'm a cleaner too, actually. So we're just like cleaning stuff and scrubbing stuff. He's like, I think I need to make you more mad more often. And I'm like, no.
Well, you guys were a wonderful interview. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. What's your name again, sir?
Spencer.
You guys have been holding hands through the entire interview. And that's, I want to make sure of that.
Relationships. Well, let's talk about relationships here. They could be hard, they could be great, they could be sweet, they could be rewarding, but mine has been nothing but stress. I've been married for 24 years. I have 3 lovely, beautiful, intelligent boys. Blessings from heaven. My marriage may be in the rumble right now, but God has blessed me with 3 beautiful boys. I have let this relationship with my husband stress me. I can't even begin to tell you how much stress I've had. Where I couldn't even get out of bed. Cry night, day, and noon. Look out the window, when is he coming home? Constantly crying, wanting him to come home, like I couldn't live without him. And come to find out, when he was out there, he had a baby. He had a little girl. He had something that I couldn't give him, and that hurt me even more. It put me deeper into depression that it was hard for me to get out of. I've been going through this with him for 8 years now. I never served him any papers to divorce him. His daughter is 4. It's going to be 5. And I think he's expecting me to divorce him or to hand him papers. But that's the problem with this society. We are given too easily to divorce. It's like it's too easy for us to obtain a divorce. We don't have faith in God, that God is going to work everything out for us. You have no idea. I let this whole relationship with my husband stress me until it gave me breast cancer. I found out in October. I was going back and forth. They thought there were lumps other places, so we were going back and forth for months. And when are you guys going to start? When are you going to start the treatment? Please start the treatment. I don't want it to spread. And finally they did. And this is the result. I have absolutely no hair now. But that was part of the hardest thing. Yes, you get sick, but losing my hair, I had a nice length of hair, and when you put your hand in your hair or your head and you just see all of the hair just come out, that was an extremely painful and hurtful thing to see. And I said to myself, I allowed stress to do this to me. I can't blame my husband. I'm not going to say because he went out and he did all of this, I have this cancer now. I allowed this to happen to myself because of what was going on in my life. I should have been stronger. I should have held myself up and moved on. Yes, I'm not willing to get a divorce. I'm not going to do that. If he wants to leave me, fine, but I'm not going to divorce him because I didn't do anything wrong. Okay, and I respect my marriage, and I want it to work. And I love him. I do love him. Yes, I'm hurting and sometimes I'm upset and maybe even hate him. But that's not truly hate. That's just anger from all of the hurt that he caused me. You know, if I didn't love him, I don't think I would still be in this relationship. If I didn't want it to work, I wouldn't still be in this relationship. And if I didn't want my 13-year-old son to grow up with his father the way that the other kids do, no, he's not having that same relationship that the other boys have. But he knows that his father will come home at one point, sometime of the day, sometime of the night, he'll see his father. So, you know, and I don't want them to go through what I went through as a kid. You know, I've had stepfathers, I had stepmothers, and no, it wasn't a pretty sight for me. I wouldn't even go there into it to let you know what I've been through personally with my stepfathers. You could only imagine. And I don't want that to happen. And this is why I understand my husband wanting to be there 100% for his daughter, because you really can't trust any man with your daughter or even your son. But my kids know I would have to kill someone if anyone touched my boys. And I understand that's the way my husband feels, and he wants to be there 100% for his daughter. He wants to protect her 100%. And I respect that, because he could have walked away. He could have said, okay, you had my baby, but I'm not leaving my wife. You know, that's on you. But no, he's there for her. Like for that little girl, like he's a full-time father, a husband, he's everything. And I know he does everything for them, you know. You know, he's not the same husband that I once had, who used to wash my car and mow the lawn and cook dinner every night and wash the clothes. No, he's not doing any of that for me anymore, and that hurts. You know, I have to do it basically by myself. Occasionally, yes, he'll cook for me once in a blue moon, but it's not the same of what we had before. But because I have so much faith in God, I know eventually one day everyone's going to look and they're not going to believe that my relationship was restored. And you know why it was restored? Because I always had faith in God, and I knew God would turn it around. So that's basically what I'm living on. And when you see me in another 6 months, I'll have hair up to my shoulders again, and I'll have a little more weight on again, and I'll have a little butt again, and I'll be happy and, you know, just rejoicing for life again, and just happy, happy, happy. So take my advice. Don't let anything or anyone ever stress you out to the point where you get cancer, because cancer comes from stress. When you stress yourself out, it brings out the cancer. We all have a little cancer cell within us, but it's always something that triggers it off. So, you know, keep the faith. Don't let anything pull you down. Just keep it. God bless you all. Bye.
My name's Amy, and I live in Minneapolis. I do healing bodywork and I design jewelry. And I've been divorced for about 1.5 years. And my parents are also divorced, and they got divorced when I was 3. And then my mom got divorced again when I was 17 after she remarried when I was 10. I was totally against that. I mean, I was 10 and I was against it, but you know, people do what they do. My sister is also divorced. So there's definitely like divorce, a pattern of that running around my family. I guess my life up till now and continuing forward has kind of been all about like synchronicities, and I've always just kind of gone with the flow and like with the moment. That was how I met my ex-husband. It was this one day that I was supposed to be at work, but I got the night off just like randomly, and so I went out for sushi with friends, and it was this great night. Like, people were buying my jewelry. I was having a great time. I went out to the bar to see my friend's band, and as we were watching the show, I was really like drawn in by the saxophone player. Now, even though I had a boyfriend, you know, I was checking him out, and I mean, that's not unusual. You know, I tend to like boys, and he was telling me he had a headache, and I did some like, you know, energy work on his head and made it disappear, and told him not to smoke, and he was all enthralled with my energy. He asked my friend for my number, and she wouldn't give it to him. She's like, I don't give out my girlfriend's numbers. And then he came and saw me in this play I was in, and I told him I had a boyfriend, and he was kind of devastated. And so, then like maybe 10 days or 2 weeks went by, and my friend got back from out of town, and I told her, can I have that guy's number? I had this boyfriend. He was sweet and everything, but I didn't really think it was going anywhere necessarily, but he was really sweet and cute. I did end up going out with this other boy like just once, and he was all about how I should go out with him, and the other guy doesn't even have a car, and like, what's up with that? He has this whole story about it. He's like, and then I saw you, and you were sitting there, and it was like a white light opened up in your heart, and I looked at the white light, and I went down a tunnel, and burning inside it, it was a flame, and it was the same color as the flame inside my heart. And I mean, like, those are pretty powerful words, and so I was kind of buying into that. And then he's like, and why are you dating this other guy? He doesn't even have a car. 3.5 weeks later, we were engaged, and everybody was like really amazed, because I'm not that, kind of spontaneous. It's like, I like people, but I'm not going to just marry somebody immediately. So we were engaged for like a year, and it had its ups and downs, and there was just a lot of like questioning at the beginning of me, and like I was giving different answers for like the same question a lot, because I wasn't really liking having like these questions directed at me. And then he was like digging into my stuff and reading my journal, so there were some red flags. But once you're planning a wedding, I mean, it's just like in the flow, and it's going, and I got married, and I loved his family and his grandma and his grandpa. I mean, I was fresh out of grandma's, and like then I had this new grandma, so that was pretty sweet. And went to the Hawaii honeymoon, where I hiked like this 25-mile trail. I was sure I was gonna die on it. Like, it was not my idea. I wanted to take the Zodiac boat in surreptitiously and get dropped off at the end and then hike back, but that wasn't gonna give me the like feeling of accomplishment that like I was supposed to get from the whole hike. So instead I had to have that near feeling of death when I thought I was gonna tumble down to the rocks below on like the foot-long, like foot-wide path where it was like crumbly rock and crazy hot sun and all that kind of nonsense with really big blisters, new boots. Anyway, I thought it was like a metaphor for like marriage. Like, it's difficult, but you make it to the end, and it's a beautiful like sunny beach. It was a beautiful sunny beach, but we left the beach in like a day, had to go back. We're married for like another 2 years. It was weird. We met and started dating in September. We got married in September, and we split up. Again, at this like music festival, kind of the same people, same energy, met some new friends. They offered me some special treats for opening one's mind. I hadn't had such treats in at least 3 years. Maybe I didn't really want to open my mind during that time. But when I did, I realized I had all this like happy, positive, great energy that was like around inside, and I was using it, and I was like being happy, and it was like somebody kicked him in the head. Like, he just couldn't see me like being so happy. So he was convinced I was in love with somebody else, and that it just wasn't going to work out. And so we talked about it on the way home, and we're like, he's like, I feel really far away from you, and like I watched you fall in love with someone else. I was kind of like, well, I think you're not really like on the ball on that. But after I thought about it, it wasn't that I fell in love with someone else, but it was just like that I refound myself, and I wasn't being like I wasn't having this other energy that was always getting upset every time I was happy. And we just decided to split up, and it was pretty amicable. I mean, he helped me out a lot, like during like the marriage. He was really generous with taking care of things so that like I could go back to school and learn how to do, massage and body work. And I mean, I'm really grateful for that, because that's put me in the place that I am now, and it's all just been in the flow. And like now I meditate on my own, whereas he used to tell me to meditate and do it like this, and it's like, that's not really that helpful, just in case anybody's wondering. It's not probably the way to get somebody to go onto the spiritual path. But, I kind of found that on my own, and he's kind of found his thing on his own too. And when we met, he was kind of conflicted, like as a musician and a creative person, like moving into the world of business and getting involved in like money and wanting to make money so we can make the world a better place, because we shared those ideals. I mean, like the thing that brought us together was like we wanted to make the world a better place, and we both did, and we both cared, and we were both worried. And the thing is like he's doing it like through making money so he can give that to like all the organizations that we all believe in, that all need money and they all need help. But I just couldn't like get into that game with him where like I had to be this person who was supposed to like dress a certain way and like act a certain way and like live in the suburbs in like a 4-bedroom house with like 3 bathrooms and a cat that pees on all the laundry that he could never pick up and put in the basket. I just couldn't deal with that anymore. So now I have my own apartment. It's in Minneapolis. It's small and it's cute and it's mine, and I love it, and I walk to work, And I'm doing my like healing of the world, like maybe it's one person at a time, but you know, and it's not about the money, but you know, at least we're both a lot happier, and you know, I want the best for him and he wants the best for me, and we just don't really see each other, but you know, it's still all good. So namaste.
We'll start with my first serious relationship, Kyle, whom I married. I met him when I was 16. He was a teacher at my high school. Very scandalous thing. Nowadays, the guy would be put in prison. But, very exciting, naughty boy. Married him, had 2 wonderful children, abusive relationship. The naughty boys always attracted me, and he was definitely one. I'd never been out with anyone who drank and actually did things on the road rage. My first experience with road rage. Anyway, what I learned from Kyle was that I will never again put myself in bodily danger. I'll never allow another man to hit me when I know that I'm a good, kind person and I don't deserve that kind of treatment. He would always come back and apologize. The typical abusive scenario, apologize, I'll never do it again, but each time was worse. No one deserves to be yelled at, no one deserves to be kicked. Don't let it happen. Just because they say it won't happen again, it will happen again. Just get out. In the next relationship with Phil, terribly exciting, well-known musician, traveled with him a great deal, treated very well, didn't really share a lot of his heart and his mind with me, sporadically. Years later, I met him on the road when we were both on with different engagements, and he told me, sat down, he says, Adele, I'm going to tell you, he said, I should have married you, but I'm going to tell you why I didn't, and that's because you had 2 children at the time, and I had children from different wives, and I was a terrible father. That was a moment of peace for me, because I couldn't understand how I could see a man on and off for 10 years and not have him care about me in some way, when the strongest thing he had said was, I have great affection for you. So not to spend so much of my life with someone who is not willing to share emotionally. So I moved on after that to another naughty, terribly bad, the worst of the worst man, Andrew. He was abusive mentally and emotionally, and I let that happen because it was terribly exciting, traveling all over the world, going to Monte Carlo. How many times a year can I go to Paris and Venice and God knows where? I'd never been to those places, but it was the sexual thing, because I got into erotica, which, my God, me, never in a million years, you know, the sweet mother of 2, virgin when I got married. Anyway, that's a terribly wonderful story. Erotica was just an amazing time. Women, please experience it sometime in your life. Steve turns out to be the love of my life. We would start the Johnny Appleseed Foundation, and that would be to buy up all the land we could ever possibly buy so no one could ever build on it. Ladies, quit looking for the bad guys. I'm telling you, the good life is not there. Don't wait till you're middle age and you think, oh my God, where'd my life go? I need to get something going here. But you don't have to be desperate for a husband. Just be desperate to know yourself, finally, to have your own thing going. Be the woman you want to be without depending upon a man bringing that excitement in your life. Because you know, you can be happy on your own 2 feet.
What I was saying, to continue it, is that at my age, I felt that the partner that I chose, there had to be other requirements as far as just, you know, someone that was cute and got along with.
Yeah.
So choosing this woman who's successful in the corporate thing was really great when we didn't have children. She had her own interests. When I went on the road, she ran her companies and I was all good. And as soon as I got the the ultimatum, the child thing, which is something that I wanted. I wanted the family thing, but we chose to do that. And she stopped working. The dynamics changed so drastically.
Yeah, but can't she go back to work?
Yeah, she can, but I think at full time,
you don't a good child care, and then as they get older, you scale back on the child care.
I hope so. That would make sense to me.
And then because I'll tell you,
there's a horn player that
the spending as much time with my kids as I do, and without my wife around, it's a great thing. I mean, it's the best thing.
Yeah, I just did it for 6 weeks.
But you got to get her out of the house.
Yeah, that's tough.
So then you can.
That's tough too.
See, I'm lucky because I have the kids, and they're with me, and it's like, I'm definitely their father. I'm the authority figure in their lives, but I'm also like a friend, and I take them to the games. They'll come in, like into my room, they'll jump in my bed, and they'll be like, hey, how come this is like the best bed? This is the most comfortable bed. I love your bed. We hang together, and we don't have other feminine opinion. It's just it's like a male testosterone hang. It's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. When I'm just with the boys,
happy
it's a whole
about
different
that.
thing. And I admit that I don't think that I'm as responsible as my wife with what fruit to cut up and the right beverage to bring to the park and the sunscreen and the hats and all. And she's so great at it.
But that's why.
But it's a dude hang, man. We go and hang at the park, and I let them throw shit and do different
absolutely.
stuff. It's because that's how men, we from the caves, bond with other men, and that's how they're learning.
Right.
It's always about all the protective stuff.
No, women, their priorities.
My kids say to be like,
their priorities are slightly different.
is that okay? Do we do?
Yeah,
Just throw the egg in the frying pan. It doesn't matter if it breaks. It's still going to taste like an egg.
I think one of the basic differences is that the emotional side of women, they go through such extreme changes. We have our changes emotionally, but we're a little bit more grounded as far as that's concerned.
I look at it as men are one-dimensional and women have several different levels of emotions. I think men are much more black and white and less gray. Right. If you're black or you're white, they go right to the gray. There's other levels, like you said, I don't really feel like it. Then they'll say, what?
It's
You
hard to
said you don't feel like it because of what you said. And then Italian all this crap from the past, and I'm going like, no, I wasn't even thinking that. I just meant I don't feel like it. I mean, that's all I was thinking.
I know.
And then I'm like, oh God, man. I start getting confused now. I'm starting to doubt myself and my own self. Wondering, like,
Isn't it funny how one wrong thing, even in jest or just like kidding around, could change from like a really happy go from a real happy time to like, I'm in the doghouse.
It's
You
like
know what I mean?
It's being a parent too. If my kids do something wrong, I say, stop. That's it. No, you can't do that. Go to your room, whatever it is. My wife, every no that she says is negotiable. My kids know it's negotiable. Every no is negotiable. And I mean, it's like our arguments. It's never over. It's never like, no, we're not going to do that. She'll come back 15 minutes later. But
Right, they can't let it die, and they have a tendency always they want to have the last word. I like to give them like Bill O'Reilly. I give them the last word. You can have the last word. You know what I mean?
nice thought.
The funny thing is that we're having
That's
this
why
conversation, and there's a soundtrack behind us, man. It's so hip.
I don't care if my
You hear the soundtrack?
my kids are mad.
Like we're talking this.
Little background music to our misery.
Yeah, Brian.
She has to have the final word. That's kind of like women
Give them
are
the
kind of
final
like
word.
daddy's little girl. You know what I mean? They're used to having their daddy take care of them.
The other thing
And
is they
they
want you to
maybe
listen, but they
expect
don't
that
want you to
from us.
comment. As soon as you, like if they come home and talking about some experience they had or a problem with a girlfriend or whatever, and then you're listening, being a good listener, and then you put your 2 cents in, and then they fire on you. It's like, wait, you don't know her. Like, it's like, hey, I'm just kind of taking it to the next level. I want to be part. They just want you to listen, that's all. They don't really want you to react or say anything or tell them what to do, or they don't want you to have an opinion.
Have you ever experienced this, where it's like you're agreeing, you're in concordance, so to speak, they will insist on like trying to get you to that place where there's a little bit of a confrontation. That bugged me.
Men don't want confrontation.
And I try my best to say it. Like, in the back of my head, I'm like, I'm not going to go into this box.
I believe that. I think men are very, and that's stupid. You say they want to bear the remote control. But what that is, if you read back in all the books, men, when you get at them, they just want to go back in the cave. We don't want to deal with it. It's like we just want to go back in the cave. We don't want
ridiculous. Isn't it ridiculous?
And I feel, as much as I love my wife, I feel like she does somewhat thrive on having something negative happening. And that's because I don't want any negative happening.
Unfortunately, it does. I think the problem with men and women often goes back to the control issue, the aspect of who's on top, who dominates who, and the reality is, especially with a woman who's successful, when you have a sexual relationship that the man is dominant, and then you have a relationship where a woman is all of her life she's trying to not be subservient, she's trying to prove her worth, and then all of marriage goes into this negotiation. And when I say to my wife no, then she's like, well, how come it has to be your way? I said, it's not always my way. It's just in this case, in this instance, no. And I'm just saying, I'm not going to negotiate it. This is not a negotiable point. And then she'll go crazy because she feels like, well, it's your way. It's not my way. It's just that on this case, in this case, I'm not gonna. You're not gonna win a negotiation here because I really think that you're wrong. And how can I explain to you any differently?
Well, being a judge, your wife's a judge.
I mean, and she's used to everybody saying all day long. She's used to everybody all day.
She's the final word.
She's the final word.
Well, it's my situation is similar because she
Final word
runs the company.
Exactly.
Everyone comes to her, and she makes the ultimate decisions. And so she treats our family like an extension of the business. As I try to say, we're equals. It's not the way she's very. But, I needed that because my life was kind of spinning out, and now that she came and saved me, now it's a little tough because now that I have it together, thanks to her, it's tough being told how to do, what to wear, who to hang with, and all that. Now I've lost control. Whatever. You gotta take the good, I think, with the bad. But I think that ultimately a balance in anything we do, whether it's just in anything, a balance is great. And I think that's the hardest thing to strike with a woman is finding equal ground and a balance and a respect for each other that allows each other the room to express themselves, talk it out, agree that maybe sometimes and admit that you're wrong, and allow that other person to a certain amount of room to go crazy and be negative and bad and whatever. If you allow those things, that's how relationships can continue on. But it has to be both sides. If both sides aren't doing it, it ain't gonna work.
I met my husband when I was 14, almost 15, down by the beach. It was a straight pickup. Where's the parties? Follow us. Ended up dating him for 4 years. Ended up getting married to him when I was 18, almost 19 years old. Waited about 7 years to have children. During those 7 years, we took our time and enjoyed life. Unfortunately, we did a lot of drugs at that time too, which kind of probably interfered with the real picture of where our relationship really was. During those 7 times, even though we were doing cocaine, which was at the time the big thing to do, was married for 25 years, have 4 beautiful children out of the marriage. Very successful story, American dream, 2 houses, boats, the whole bit. My mother-in-law passed away, and my ex-husband went off the deep end pretty much. He had an affair with someone who we thought of as our daughter. She has known our family since she was 7 years old. Her brother and my oldest son went to kindergarten together. I knew immediately when they started their affair. My gut said so. I confronted them both. They both denied it. Within 6 weeks of starting his affair, he got busted. Maybe I acted too hastily at the time, but it was looking back on it, I think I made the right choice. I asked him to leave, to get out, and have been dealing with the fallout of going through a divorce. Children, you know, the trickle effect that this all had on them was pretty devastating. My kids are still in counseling, as well as myself. At the time, I thought that it was the world's worst thing that could have happened to me. However, I knew in my heart I wasn't in love with the man anymore. So I also welcomed the fact that I had freedom without guilt. The first year, I kind of rolled with things and rolled with them so much to where I enjoyed every part of adulthood. I was going out having a good time, kind of lost my focus on the kids there for a minute and just partied. Had a great time. You know, I'm in my 40s and I'm flattered that men in their 20s are looking at me, and it's great for an ego booster. However, you know, that age gap does get to you. You know, it is for a season. It can't last. And got focused again on what was really important. It's funny, the group of friends who you have when you're married, you kind of lose sight of them. Not that they're out of your heart and mind, but I don't know if it's a jealousy factor or they feel threatened that you're now a single woman in a world of married people. But you develop new friendships, and those friendships are what get you by in your new life. They're the ones that, you know, when you're having your down moment, that you can call your girlfriend and say, hey, I need to talk. Also, one of the best things that I have working for me is a core, a deep core, spiritual core that gets me through everything in life. Not even per se religious, but spiritual. I really believe karma. Going through life and treating people the way you want to be treated. Those are things that get you through life. And I now live my life that way. I try to be good to others. It's hard, but I really try to overcome the resentment that I have for my ex-husband and our babysitter, of which there's a 27-year gap between them. She's actually 4 years older than my oldest son, and 27 years difference. My ex is older than her father. You know, those kind of relationships in general, they're good for a season, but after that, what do you talk about? After that lust wears off, I know for myself, my own experience, dating younger men, it doesn't last. I mean, there's not much you can talk about. They don't even know who Red Skelton is, for God's sakes, you know? It just, you gotta deal with people who are on your own level. Do I think it's gonna work out for them? Probably not. You can't start a relationship on lies, deceit, betrayals. It's not healthy. I didn't realize how unhappy I was until I got out of the box. And I realized how controlling of the man he was. And I really enjoy my life now. You know, we all can walk in our house now. We don't have to take off our shoes. We live our life. We enjoy it. We spontaneity, you know, it's great to live and breathe. Self-discovery is probably one of the best things that has come to me, is realizing that that person who I missed inside me for many, many years, you know, being a wife and a mother and, you know, involved in PTA and all these things, soccer mom, you know, you lose sight of really who you are. And getting back to know who I am and where I am, and you know, it's coming back to me. I'm a good person, and he can't take that away from me. And all my ability that I didn't think that I had in me, that I didn't know what I was going to do. I mean, think about it. I was a stay-home mom for 18 years. I vested all of myself in this man. I put all my eggs in a basket. I see girlfriends now, and they're out to find some rich guy to take care of them. I don't want that. I want to take care of myself. That's the most important thing. I don't want to depend on anybody or anything ever again in my life. If I find someone that compliments me, great. Will I ever be in the position to feel dependent on anybody again? No way. I love what I do now. I love that I can be true to myself. I don't want to compromise myself for anyone. I want to be who I am. If you like me, great. If you don't, I really don't want to be around you. I don't want to have you in my life. I want positive energy, not negative. And that's what I have to say about all that.
And I was married for the first time at 25, which was way too young. We met because I got his phone number and ended up calling him, and were married by the 9th month. It was quite the whirlwind romance. Probably not the best choice I've ever made, but I got the most perfect, beautiful, intelligent child ever to be given birth to, so I suppose it was all well worth it. It was a hard marriage. It was a very hard marriage, actually. He was both verbally and physically, verbally and emotionally abusive. God, I wish he had been physically abusive, then I could have actually done something about it or been justified in what I did. But as hard as the marriage was, leaving him and experiencing all of the anger and the vile and the hatred afterwards, that was even harder. Took a toll on me, physically, emotionally. I dropped a lot of weight and dealt with a lot of stress. It was a very stressful time. It was a very emotional time. The time after I left my husband was both exciting and horrifying at the same time. I did meet my current wife during that time period, not long after actually I came out as being gay, which was so well received here in the South. It was a cathartic moment in my life because I finally started coming to realizations about what I wanted and who I was and who I was in love with and the things that I envisioned for myself. Always knew that it involved my son. Always knew that it was going to be me and somebody and my son facing the world together. As terrifying as it was also very gratifying. I met the most beautiful woman to walk the face of the earth, and she was kind and compassionate and Christ-like and understanding and giving and forgiving and all of these things that I was searching for in a person. And lo and behold, there she was. So it worked out well for me. More than anything, she loved my son. And I couldn't have asked for more than that. That was on the top of my priority list. So I walked into this relationship eyes open, and we actually did not get married in 9 months. We didn't get married for like 4 years. So we dated for 4 years until we decided to get married, which is a much better choice. You get to know somebody. You get to figure out their ups and downs and their ins and outs and really figure out how to make a life together, which is what I wanted to do. So here she comes, dating ups and downs and being a part of the family and making our own family together, which is really hard to do. Nobody preps you for that, really. You're supposed to leave your parents and start making this own family, but you're not really sure how to do that because you were always the child in the original family. So you build this family together and you take on these issues together and you fall in love over and over and over again with this person who soothes your nerves about all of the baggage that you bring from your previous relationships and who sort of matches baggage with yours. And you start building this family. We're actually also looking at having another child, which thrills me to no end. You wake up one day and you realize that you've got what you were searching for. You've got what you were looking for. All of those dreams and hopes that you had as a little girl, you've got them. You've got the person who loves you. You've got the child who loves you. You've got
family outings, going to museums. You've got cooking breakfast in the morning on Mother's Day. And let me tell you what, with 2 women in the household, that's kind of difficult because you're never quite sure who's supposed to be doing the cooking or who's supposed to be. So it's sort of life to the 10th or nth degree. It's all of these things that you never knew you really wanted, but then you have them and you're like, oh my gosh, that's what I'm looking for. That's my life. There it goes. Make sure you grab it. My son and my wife are so similar. Oh my gosh, they're so similar. They're so funny. She and I get to share all of these likes and passions, and then the 3 of us get to sort of form this cohesive unit. It's what a family is supposed to look like. It's what I've always wanted. I can't imagine it's what anybody else hasn't wanted. You go along in your day-to-day stuff and you figure out the best way to do it, and you figure out how to do it together, and you start looking towards your future life and what that's going to look like and how that's supposed to evolve. And sometimes it's drudgery and sometimes it's tiring, but welcome to adulthood. This is what you have to do. And it's a good thing. It's one of those responsibilities you want to take on. It's one of those responsibilities you want to stick your hand up in class and say, yes, that's what I want to do. This is my life, and I'm really glad it's my life. I don't want anybody else to have it because I can't imagine having anybody else's. I can't imagine it would be as fulfilling or as satisfying or as gratifying. People may look at it and go, really? That's so odd. It's so alternative. Really? Because I'm just taking care of a spouse and raising a kid and making money and doing the best thing I can. If that's not what you're doing, then I'm not sure who's alternative. Who's running the alternative life? I know it sounds silly. It sounds trite. And I'm basically a positive person, but I don't know how I could be much happier doing what it is that I'm doing, being who it is that I am, being surrounded by the people I am. This is my life, this is my family, and I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way.
I live in Honolulu, Hawaii. I've been with Brandy for 7 years so far. She's been the best. She knows how to make me feel good. She does everything I expect of her. She never talks back. She's been great. No, she doesn't really do much at home. I kind of have to clean up after her and all that. But she's just so great that it's worth it to me. She's really easygoing. She pretty well does what I want her to. Sometimes I have to ask her 2 or 3 times, but she usually gets around to doing what I want her to. No, she's really easygoing. She's just sweet as can be.
Well, let's introduce you, Brandy.
Brandy.
Hi, Brandy.
Hello.
You've been acting really weird lately.
Why?
Guess what?
What? Get away from me! No, I can't stand you. I can't take words you listening!
I don't understand.
I'm the man. It's not that easy.
Pick up the phone!
What are you doing?
Seriously.
These crazy
You
psychos!
don't know how
Shut
to
up!
have- This
Fine.
is ridiculous.
Open the goddamn door! You need to grow up.
My name is Jenna. I'm from California. 25. My longest relationship was 5 years.
I get pissed off. I want to fight someone. Yeah, that's the thing that pisses me off the most out of anything, probably.
Married in the early 80s. We stayed married for 18 years, so we ended up getting divorced after 18 years, and it was a difficult divorce. It's divorce from what I would say the divorce from hell.
It was either nothing or screaming or yelling in my house, and I I learned from that. You know, you can't help but learn from that.
Made love like 3 times a day.
Yes!
So we're doing our best to make sure we don't screw them up too. That's not nice.
$19 years.
19 years.
Yes.
20th of December 1987.
And how did you guys meet?
She was my next door neighbor.
Did he knock on your door and borrow sugar every single day, or?
No, came around with half glass of wine and held his hand over the top pretending it was a full bottle of wine and offered me a glass of wine. And I was teaching at the time and I had a very rough day, and we were having a production at the school I was teaching in, and I said, no, I can't have the wine now because I'm in charge, I'm doing all the lights for the production. And he said, well, when will you have eaten? I said, well, I won't have time to eat tonight, I've got to go to the production now. And he said, well, I'll cook your dinner, what time will you be home? And I said, about 10:30, 11 o'clock. And he said, I'll cook your dinner.
How was the dinner?
It was nice.
It was nice. What was it? Do you remember what it was?
I do. Cornish hen with wild rice and a Caesar salad, I believe. Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct.
And do you still cook now?
Yes, I cook now. She cooks, I cook.
You take turns?
Yes. If she cooks, I wash the wares. If I cook, she washes the wares. If we don't cook, like we live just down the road, right? And we come up here, we came up here for a cup of coffee, have a little dessert, and then, you know, we go back home. Well, physically and mentally, right? And mentally. We listen to very good music. We travel a lot. We travel quite a bit. And we went to Hawaii. Instead of staying 1 week, we stayed 3 weeks and went all around the islands on a cruise. You know, that type of thing. This is it. This is it. Yeah, this is it.
You don't have the energy to go through a fourth one, that's your problem. Don't you fool anybody.
And did you feel the same? Do you feel the same way? Have you been married before?
No, this is my first marriage.
First marriage?
Yeah, we have a lot of fun together. We have our arguments, we have our ups and downs, but we can always talk it out. We always communicate it out, and it's not as if, you know, you solve it either by running to the bedroom, whatever. You talk it out. You have an argument. You know, you sit down, you have a drink, you go for a walk. That's the end of it. It's sorted out. You solve it. Even if it causes an argument, I think Ainsley, if I'm right, would kind of hold it in more and hope that it will go away and we'll forget about it. Yeah. I'm not. I'm Irish, I have a very fiery temper, so I can't hold it in. I'll have to tell you what is wrong and say, look, I know this may cause an argument, but this is how I feel. I need you to know that. Now you can tell me exactly how you feel in return, but I need you to know where I'm coming from. And I'll tell you exactly, and then I'll give him his space to tell me whatever, and then as soon as both of us have expressed it, we say, okay, we know where we stand, that's the end of it, and that's it, forgotten about.
Does that work for you?
Yeah, that works for me because, well, it was never so when in my other marriages also, right? But when we first got married, right? And Ruth would come home from teaching, and she would say to me, Ainsley, I just want 15 minutes to half an hour of your time, right? Because, you know, you come home, you have things to do and so on. But then she said that, and it has been like that, you know. If she wants to talk, we sit down and listen. I'll sit down and listen, right? And we talk it out. Sometimes I don't feel like talking and I might be mum, and then she would try again, and we would talk, and we talk out our problems.
It doesn't always solve it. Sometimes he'll get very angry with me, but I don't think he realizes that in saying even yet, I know I can accept his anger and I can accept that I'm thinking differently from him, but I just want him to know, not necessarily I want a solution, but this is how I feel about it. I don't like the way you went about it. That's all I want you to know. Sometimes he likes for it to come to a total solution. I'm not exactly wanting that. I'm just expressing a view, But after that, hey, I'm ready. I'm finished with it. I just needed you to know that. And it's taken us a long time actually to get to that stage where in expressing a view, I'm not criticizing him. He's not criticizing me. We're just saying, this is how I feel. But we're not being defensive. We're just saying, this is what's coming from here. End of story,
You see, although she says she has a fiery temper, she's still very understanding.
Would you like a drink of wine? Would you like a cup of tea? He maybe will go to the computer, watch a movie, or say, I'm going out for a swim. Not to get away from me, but just say, okay, is it all right if I'm going out for a swim now? I say, sure. That sort of thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be solved by going to bed or whatever. It's just whatever maybe you were intending doing before Ruth stopped you and said, I really need you to listen to me for 10 minutes, Oh yeah, that could be. That's probably why we don't want babies.
But the coffee thing is a lot safer than wine, and then you can just go there.
It's not as big an investment.
Yeah, it's not as big an exactly right. Golly, you guys are wonderful, and thank you very much for being so kind. You guys are married 19 years.
19 years, and I'm the better half of that couple.
All right, thank you. You have a last word you want to say?
Well, I'm married and I'm happy.
I'm Meredith Pesda.
Zachary Price.
Take two.
Okay, here we go. Ready?
My name is Meredith Price.
Zachary Price.
That's right.
Yeah.
Day 4. So far, so good.
Year and a half we've been dating. I asked her on a random night to surprise her after dinner at a nice restaurant.
Yeah, I was surprised. We had been talking about it and everything, but I had no idea. It was like a Wednesday or something, so it wasn't a special date for us or anything like that. So he definitely took me by surprise. Of course, I think everybody starts out optimistically. You'd hope nobody goes into this thinking about, divorce. So,
okay.
Oh, I'm excited, and I think the fact that we've been together a few years and dealt with some problems, I think obviously things won't be perfect. You run into issues you have to resolve, but we've resolved some good issues, and that's a good test, and we're still here and got married, and I think that'll be the best start you can get.
I guess it depends on who's upset by whatever situation, what have you. I know I tend to stew a little bit more than he does, just because I like to take time and think through whether getting in an argument is really worth it or not. So that's one thing we've talked about, because he always wondered why I would seem quiet or pensive, and finally we hashed out that that's just my style. But
in the meantime, while she's quiet, I know something's wrong, so I ask her. So while she's debating if she wants to talk, I know there's something up. So
yeah.
Listening? Shut up! Weren't you listening? Shut up! Shut up! Weren't you listening? Shut up! Weren't you listening?
yeah, I listen. Yeah, certainly, because I want to know.
Yeah, if you weren't going to listen, why would you ask?
Because I know when something's not right, so I ask because I want to find out. So I listen very well.
Yeah. And I would have to agree with that.
Especially in that circumstance. I may forget little things that we talk about sometimes, but when we have an issue like that, I'm listening.
When you know it's important, you listen up.
I'll repeat back to her sometimes. She doesn't like it, but sometimes I'm repeating things, just going through it in my mind out loud, and talking. And sometimes she doesn't like me repeating, but that's kind of how I think and think out loud like that. So she knows what I'm thinking about. A lot of times it's just a miscommunication too, you know, like sometimes she's thinking I'm thinking one thing and that wasn't at all what it was, or sometimes people do things and another person thinks it's for a certain reason and it wasn't at all. So that's why I think it helps sometimes.
Parents left a message for you. Safe their souls on tape recorder. Together with ours and sent it in for all of our lives we waited for someone.
That's a good question. I think mainly what I try to do, I mean, you know, his technique is good, but I know a lot of times there's no quick fix to anything, and the only way you can demonstrate that you understand another person's point of view is to adjust your behavior the next time, so you can show it through your actions. We both come from families where our parents have been married for 30 plus years, so I think we have been raised with the proper tools to, you know, have good communication, and we've learned it through example from our parents. So I think that's been important.
Especially my parents, because they argue, I've seen them argue really well. But and they work together in business, which is not easy. So they're together at home at night and at the business. So and they've struggled through that, and I give them a lot of credit because I'm sure it's hard. So
And it worked out.
yeah. And they argue very well.
That's what I mean, learning through example, you know, even if you see fights, you know, as long as you see the communication and, you know, them being resolved, I think that's important.
Well, I mean, sometimes I think they're both a little hot-headed, in my opinion, and I'm kind of a laid-back guy, and that's probably why, because I think both my parents were, you know, they get heated conversations, so growing up watching that, I've kind of not been like, you know.
Maybe you learn to do the opposite of what you say.
So
more often than not.
That's it. But yeah.
So indirectly,
try to be calm and cool about situations instead of your first reaction to be, you know, an emotional one. And I was gonna say before, when you're starting to talk stuff out, sometimes you gotta wait a little bit or whatever.
Right.
Just if someone's really emotional, it may not be the proper time. So.
Right, which is pretty much my technique.
Which is a learning curve too.
Yeah.
On when's the right time to talk. But.
They say to never go to bed angry or whatever.
And I can't stand that. Yeah. Because you know how two people are when everything's fine, and then obviously if you know each other well, you know when things aren't fine, even if nothing's been said. So.
Zach and Meredith, and we got married June 23rd, 2006. We're here honeymooning in the Bahamas. We're having a great time.
Definitely.
Shirley Hoffmeyer.
Gary, and I'm her son.
Pat, and I'm her best friend.
First marriage was childhood marriage, kind of one of first boyfriend kind of thing. He was in the military, and when he left, I had 2 kids, and that was about it. Then we came back, we got a divorce. Didn't see him very much, so we didn't have to resolve too many. He's gone all the time. I think too many things had happened maybe while he was gone. second marriage was, first one was about my age. The second one, I was looking for somebody to help me take care of my 2 kids. So he was 14 years older than me. And we were married like 14 years. But jealousy was a bad thing because of age difference. So he got booted too. If I looked out the car window at somebody or just anybody, he'd think I was looking at.
You had to dress a certain way.
Yeah, he wouldn't let me wear blue jeans. I had to wear double knit pants. No, because nobody was going to look at me if I wore anything like that. Had nothing to do with taking them off. Because that was part of my job. That was every other day, take those pants off. Yeah, because to live with them, I had to be. It was every other day thing. I could slide by one day, but the next day it was like doing the dishes. You do it. My son's never heard these things before.
So this is your son from the first marriage?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
He turned out pretty good.
Yes.
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 I did a good job.
She said first marriage, that was it. And there was 2 kids. And I was one of them.
Were you there in the first marriage?
No.
When did you become her best friend?
It was her third marriage. Yes.
My third, quickie. Short and sweet. It was the one I did out of pity. I really didn't want to marry him, but I kind of felt sorry for him. And I didn't want to just live with him, so I married him, and the day we got married, he looked at me and said, "You really didn't want to do this, did you?" And I said, "No." And we were married about 1.5 years. Yeah. 1.5 years, maybe 2 years. And after him, I decided I wasn't going to get married no more. And then I met my prince. My prince is wonderful. He'd been married before. He didn't have any children. I had 3 sons, which he made a wonderful stepfather. They were all in their 11, 10, 11, 12, that kind of thing. And he's real quiet. I never shut up. Never talked. We've been married 22 years. We have never had an argument. He lets me do anything I want. Yes, I can go naked if I want. Yeah. Anything I want to do, he lets me do. He spoils me right. No, let's see. No, it's slowed up. It's that age will slow you up. He's still my prince. Oh no, white horse. Yeah, he's not no tractor boy. He's a white horse.
It's a golf cart.
On the golf cart. He came on the golf cart.
And he's a great guy. I don't know why he's still with her. I don't. He's a great guy. He's great, and he's a genius to boot.
Yeah.
He is. He's great.
You know this gentleman.
Yes, I do.
You agree with that?
Oh, yes. He's one of a kind.
Really?
Yes.
You do a whole show on him.
I asked him out on the first date.
Oh, so you initiated.
I'm the aggressor. Watch out.
So he's the one that has to give it up. Okay?
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
You can't wear jeans.
You can't wear jeans. You gotta wear those overalls.
It's a Nomex shirt. You know, it's all filled off.
Never. And the only reason we don't is because he doesn't argue. I would. He just won't. He's just, he's just real quiet. We have never had an argument. Literally, we may have disagreed, but never argued. I've tried. No, I've never been physically abused by any of them. They'd be dead if they did.
That's cool. So there was no physical abuse.
No.
Okay, good. Excellent.
He gives me his opinion of things, but he's just not he's not an arguer.
Okay, good.
I hope he doesn't. One of these days he may pop his cork and shoot me or something.
The White Knight. I was a freshman in high school. Would have put me about 14.
14 years old?
Yeah, and I took an instant liking to him. You can't look at everybody's opinions of him. I mean, he's just that way. And like I said, not only is he nice, he's a genius. He can fix anything you ever break. Anything. He can fix it. I mean, he's up here and he's here. I mean, he's a complete package. Love him to death.
Can't do it. When I married him, I told him I'd already been surgically fixed. We couldn't have any children. Didn't he want to marry somebody that he could have children with? And he said, I'd rather have a dog. And we've always had a dog.
And he got rid of us.
He got 3 kids for a while, got rid of them. Now we still got the dog. Oh yes, let me tell you, he took vacation. He is on vacation in Oklahoma. Staying at home to take care of the dog so I can come to Hawaii with my son and my friend. Yes, took him lots of pretty Hawaiian shirts. He likes
a great
that.
ukulele.
Oh, bought him a ukulele, yes.
He's a new guitar. He's starting.
He's learning, teaching himself.
Just bought him a beautiful ukulele. Yes. I'm looking for him to even hold it.
I didn't think I'd ever find one, but I got it. Yeah. When I want to grow old rocking in the chair with this one.
No, I'm not. My husband passed away 2 years ago. I was married for 40 years. 40 years to one man. Two. A little, yes.
Yeah, how's that work?
Well, she gives me the best advice, and I listen, but whether I follow it or not, that's up to me. Sometimes she's right. Yes, I do. Thank you.
Marriage? Out of the question. Well, after seeing 4, I'm not willing to sacrifice 4. I'm not capable of that. But
Were you married once?
No. Close a couple times. Very, I mean, a couple, but, you know.
How many children?
No. 40 years old. I'm not a 40-year-old virgin, but I'm close. It's been a while. And I'm blaming her.
I know.
So, White Knight might be right next to you.
I think you'd get my mom's approval. No, maybe not. Yeah. It's been no. Nobody should put up with me. It's not me not finding the right person. I'll ruin it. I'll run him off. I'm just hard to deal with.
You hard to deal with?
Believe it or not, this wears off. This wears off.
He's a Beatle nut, and he says all the girls meet him first. They love the Beatles, and then after they leave him, they hate the Beatles.
Someone asked me today. It's like, well, my mom pointed out he's a Beatle fan. I'm like, to a fault. I've lost every girlfriend to that. And oh yeah, I can start dating someone, and they'll love the Beatles, but by the time we break up, I don't know who they hate more, me or the Beatles.
I like the Beatles, actually.
I love it.
His shirt, Beatles.
Beetleheads.
Oh, yeah.
It is. Well, yeah.
There's nothing wrong with the Beatles.
Not at all. Oh, I do
White.
too.
You're White Knight.
No, I do too.
Maybe that'll be it.
Yeah, that might be the secret. Anything you want to talk about on camera? No.
Cut.
My name is Father Jim Gibson of the Congregation of the Resurrection in the Catholic Church.
And how long have you been a father, Father?
I've been a priest for 27 years. Well, I think that the pressures on marriage in 2007 are probably even more exaggerated than they were like when I started to be a priest 27 years ago. My experience has mostly been with Latin American people over 27 years. There's cultural conflicts have a lot to do with problems that may arise in marriage. I notice that if people share the same culture, the same cultural background, which always includes their religious background as well, you really can't separate the two of them. Mm-hmm. And people who share the same values would seem to have less conflict. They seem to value the same things and understand each other. But nowadays, you have more and more cultural difference, I would say. And even among Latin American people, for example, you might have a young person who comes from a very traditional, raised in traditional values, coming from, let's say, Mexico or South America, and someone who may have parents from Latin America, and they come and live in Los Angeles and California they're raised in California, for example, and then you have a little bit of cultural differences, the United States a little more materialistic bent, and then you have a traditional culture, and then so you start to have a little bit of differences about values that people have. It depends. I think people do tend to sometimes accommodate themselves to what seems to be easier. I think one of the main reason that people come here from Latin America, for example, is economic. And so they're not coming here to find a safer place for their children. They're not coming to find a more wholesome atmosphere for their family. So it's already like on the second level when they come over here. And so obviously if their aim when they came over here is to have a materially better life, that will influence the way they think about their marriage as well. And even the state of something basic like I say, economic survival is very basic. And so if you have two people getting married who are very poor, you will automatically have a man and wife both working, and you create problems for children being raised, for example. You have children that are raised without a strong presence of their parents. So there's a lot of pressure on people.
So do you see that more in poor marriages, people that have to work really hard to get financially stable than you do with people that are a little bit more financially stable?
In terms of the pressure, yes. I'd say the pressure is more on the family than on the marriage itself. In other words, if you look at the whole family picture, people still tend to want to have children. They love the joy of sharing their life with children. But once they have children, the problem comes in when people have less time to dedicate to the children. And so, and then this could also cause friction, obviously, among the man and wife, because, and this is from Latin American culture, traditional culture would say, the man would say, I need to make sure I put bread on the table, and he might even say to his wife, take care of your children. And instead of our children, it's your children, and then you have divisions among the parents as when problems start coming up with the way their children are being raised. And so the root of that is the pressures of the economy, you know.
Okay.
In my experience, I have seen more violence among Hispanic, Latin American couples, and a lot of that goes back to a not very good tradition of machismo in Latin America. I worked many years in Oaxaca, the southernmost state of Mexico, and in that culture, the man sometimes felt like if he had to keep his wife in line, that it was okay for him to, you know, smack her in the face, you know, or hit her, because he was a man and he was macho and allowed to do that, and so that influences a lot. And then the woman, of course, in that type of situation, is very different from the woman in the United States, who might think of here, you know, of defending her rights and might think of, you know, I better get out of this situation. Right. Whereas a woman in a poor situation has nowhere to go. And so she might say, for the sake of my children, I'm going to stay in this violent situation.
And when you run into a situation like that, how do you handle that as being a priest? If a woman comes up to you and, you know, or a couple, maybe they come together and notice that they have a problem.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. If it's a real advantage if I can get the couple, because very often it's just the woman who comes. If I can at all get the couple together and realize that this is not a positive situation for us, in other words, we do not like this situation, that the man would also especially look at himself and say, I don't like this situation, I'm not being a good husband or father. Once you have people who are able to say we have a problem, then they can deal with it. And I have seen people have a very good reconciliation and go forward. But it always has to be the two people getting together.
So you have seen success stories.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I have. I have seen, and of course that is one of the root values of marriage is forgiveness. It's not easy. Your body remembers a physical abuse, and it's not easy to forgive and to put things behind you. But there are people who take positive steps, and if they work together, they can do it.
How about infidelity? Is that easy? I mean, do you find that easier to forgive than physical abuse, or not? Or
I think that women in general, the women who have talked to me, find infidelity just as difficult to forgive, if not more. And this is a real cultural battle, because once again, in a Latin American context, a lot of men feel that it's sort of not as serious that a man would be unfaithful, because he's almost expected to have a fling, you know, here or there. And but of course the woman feels no less betrayed, even if a man just had a one-night stand when he was out on a, you know, delivery, if he works with trucking or something. Even if it's a one-night stand, if the woman finds out about it, especially through a third person, that memory just sticks, and it's very difficult to forgive and move on.
Have you found women that have moved on, or?
Yes, I have found women who moved on. Usually it happens when the man is man enough to admit it and to come out, and instead of hiding and trying to make up stories, it just come out and say, I was unfaithful. A man who does that, I notice he ends up feeling more positive about himself. He realizes that he's not afraid. He's not a chicken, you know. He's able to come out and face what he has done and say, but I'm serious about our family and I want to move forward. then I think forgiveness happens more often in that situation.
And on the other hand, of course,
unfaithful. What's curious is that a man finds it just as difficult to forgive as a wife, in some cases even more, because I think for some reason I've noticed among Latin American people a strong jealousy streak in men. There are some men who, with no basis in reality, if the wife is able to be at home with the children, for example, and the husband is working, the husband will imagine that the wife is going with the neighbor or the milkman, the old joke. But husbands really suspect that sometimes with no basis at all in reality. And so obviously a strong trust and honesty between the couple is very important. But if there is an infidelity, it's just as difficult for a man to forgive. But the same thing can happen. If the woman admits it and says, I was wrong, this is not what I want in my marriage, I have seen people move forward in this way too, move forward positively.
And the children, of course, we can't forget the children. How are the children affected? Have you seen, what is your view that you experience the effect of these situations to the children?
Children, it's very interesting. Sometimes parents are very good at hiding, for example, infidelities from the children. If they are able to do that, then the children do not have an image of the negative goings on. I think what children see most is if there's any abuse going on here or there. If there's division among the parents, the children immediately start to clam up, or teachers in schools can tell you immediately the next day who's having problems at home, because the children do not do well in school. They just start to have problems, and it's usually because of the division of their parents.
You find that that parents that do divorce and quickly, without running into those physical battles and wars that they have, the children adapt faster if they're apart? I mean, do they, when they have divorces or separations and they don't go through that that series of...
Seeing the violence and the difference. I don't think there's a general rule here. Children, as several even world leaders and the Pope, etc., have said, children really have a right to have two parents together, and they have a sense of this right. If the parents are split up or one is not present, a child doesn't know automatically how to handle that. I will give one story that's it's very sad. It's a horror story, but a woman and her husband were in a bad situation, abusive, and they did split up earlier rather than later. It was necessary. What happens was then the oldest boy, and I emphasize boy, he started having problems, and the mother is thinking that he has a real problem with her. What is interesting is that the boy did not know how to handle the split up of his parents. He had nothing against his mother personally. He was rejecting the situation that he did not have a father at home. And at one point, I think the boy was like 16 years old, he actually he would come home when his mother was not home. He would come home, change his clothes, wash his clothes, and one day he even wrote on the mirror, "Will somebody please love me?" He was a 16-year-old boy, and he just felt like the situation of the world was such that no one loved him. And it wasn't his mother's fault. It was the problem of the whole situation.
Right. And he wrote that on the mirror. Wow.
He wrote that on the mirror. and he could never, he actually came in here to the parish to talk to me. And when he came here, he was just completely clammed up. I mean, he didn't even know how to externalize what he was feeling, and he was 16 years old. He had obviously psychological problems, but I mean, they could probably be traced to the fact that his parents were just split up when he was little. So, like I say, earlier or later, it's not, sometimes it will work out and sometimes it's more difficult.
So, couples that are having difficulties out there now watching this, and or you suggest for them to go to the local parish or priest, or if they even feel that there's some issues they're starting to evolve and they can't communicate with each other, would that be a good thing to do or try?
Actually, there's different people who can help out in a situation. I would say there's degrees. Sometimes I have been able to help out couples who come and are able to talk openly about what's going on. Very often I feel inadequate in terms of my psychological preparation. And so I very often suggest to people, and thanks be to God, in our church and in other churches, we have people professionally prepared for this, psychologists, family counselors. I think sometimes the people who can work things through as an entire family, with the children being made aware of what the situation is, it seems like if they know about it and are honest about it, that even the children can handle things a little bit better. But it's not always easy just on a basis of let them come in and talk to me about it, because I haven't had a whole lot of success. Like I say, most of the time I end up talking to one side and not the other, because the mother and father do not want to come to talk together.
What would you say to new couples out there that are thinking of getting married, or new couples that are just newlyweds, or get ready to start their lives together? I mean, what would you suggest? What would you say to them?
Well, let me put something in modern terms. Okay, to young people coming up, I've talked with people that are very young and are not even aware of their own maturity level. But to put in a short statement, I would say, just remember, it's not about me and it's not about you. It's about us. And us usually means sacrifice. Usually means sacrifice. If young people at the get-go, if they're ready to say, I'm ready to sacrifice my time, I'm ready to sacrifice my convenience, my free time with my friends, I'm ready to sacrifice not only for you, for my partner, but also to sacrifice us. That we are able to sacrifice. If we have a child, that we are ready to sacrifice and say, it's not only important what I think, but what we think. It's not only important what my time is, but what your time is, and what we have as a family. I'd say it's about us, and it's not about me and you.
Incredible. Thank you. I really, really appreciate you for this interview.
You're entirely welcome.